My friends, the day is finally here. Today is paint day for the Wrecked Final Edition Evo 10 rebuild. I'm super excited. So quick little recap if you have not been following the build. 8 days ago now, I brought this car into the shop. It was complete. Supposed to be a running car. Started working on it. Initially thought we only had some damage up front and on the core support. It ended up having damage all the way back to here and here. So we had to section in a whole new front piece essentially. All the body work is done. Today is paint day. I'm very excited. Before we bring this car to the booth, there's two things we need to do. First up, we need to be able to roll this car to the booth. So I need to get the subframe back in it, front suspension back in it, steering rack back in it, and get the front wheels and tires back on so we can properly transport it to the booth. Second, I need to get the rest of this driver's side prepped out. Fun fact, I almost lost this car off the lift. It is so, let me raise the lift a little bit. It is so back heavy right now, of course. Watch this. Before we lose this car off the lift, I'm gonna adjust the lift. It was a very hairy situation. Never been that close to losing a car. I was pulling it off the frame rack. I wish I had it on video. And I was lifting up the car off the rack, and sure enough, she went, wah, and thankfully I was in the back of the car. Lightly just pushed up on it and we were good to go, but still, nonetheless, very hairy. Alrighty, we got the lift properly adjusted, got a safety little stand underneath. Let's get the front suspension, subframe, rack, and wheels and tires up front. Wheels are back on, all the suspension and everything to get this car transported to the paint shop is back on. Now let's go ahead and get this side prepped out. The first thing we're gonna do is apply a guide coat to the primer section on this pillar. What this is gonna do is show us our low spots as we're sanding, so we know exactly how much to sand. They have the rub-on version like I'm using here, or they have the rattle can version. So all that right up in there, where it's still black, that means it's a low spot. This pillar is completely sanded down, prepped out. You can see there's no guide coat left, meaning it's completely flat, completely smooth, and it should look perfect underneath our paint job. We need to do the same thing on the rocker. Engine bay is already prepped out, so I just need to finish prepping out the rest of the jam and our blend panel, which is the quarter panel in the back of the pillar. Good rule of thumb that I follow, if you're just putting clear coat on, you don't want to go any more rough than 800 grit. So 800 is what I do. If you're doing color and clear, I like to go 600. Or instead of 600, if we're doing base and clear, this red Scotch-Brite works great. Now if you do just clear coat on the blend panel, a gray Scotch-Brite pad is what you want to use. This whole entire driver's side and the engine bay, everything that we are painting today is ready for paint. Now I did decide to go ahead and just squirt some paint on the interior, only where our repairs were made, right up in here, before we head to the paint booth. I would prefer to just have the entire interior masked off when we're painting the exterior in the bay. So that's the reason for that. I know it's dark in here, but I already went through and applied the self-etch primer on the bare metal areas. And now I'm gonna go ahead and squirt on some octane blue paint on all the necessary areas. Trying to have this thing look as factory as possible, so we'll see what we can do. All of the interior paint is complete. I went ahead and reapplied some of the sound deadening to that floor over there as the factory stuff we got to remove. Got the entire car cleaned up. This whole entire side sanded down, scuffed up, ready to go. We got the car situated in the booth. The first thing we need to do is go through and mask everything off. So this whole side's gonna be masked. We gotta do some masking down there, and then of course mask off the interior. The whole car is masked. As you can see, I did go ahead and cover the back quarter panel just so that when we're spraying our epoxy primer on the engine bay, none of that overspray gets onto our blend panel, because then we'd have to paint the whole entire quarter, which would defeat the purpose of the blend panel. Let's go ahead, we gotta clean and then spray out our epoxy primer on the engine bay, and then we can get to spraying out the beautiful octane blue, get some clear coat on this thing, and hopefully it looks good. I know it's gonna look good. This engine bay should already be really, really clean from when we cleaned it a day ago. But a little bit of wax and grease remover goes a long way. Bays are pretty difficult to get cleaned up anyway. I have my epoxy loaded up in the gun, so we're gonna be epoxying the wheel wells and the engine bay. All of the sealer is laid out. Let's go ahead and slap down some blue. All of the base coat is done. This thing turned out so freaking good. I did not do the wheel wells. Those are gonna be undercoated later on, but this whole entire side blended to about halfway through the back door. This thing should look absolutely phenomenal. I'm gonna let this base coat flash, and then we can slap down some clear. The first coat of clear laid down absolutely beautifully. Man, oh man, this bay looks so nice now. I like to start the furthest away from the exit of the booth. So air comes in right there. So I'm starting here and then working my way back. If I started over here, overspray from the bay would then get onto the quarter panel and pillar. Let's go ahead and knock out the second and last coat of clear going on this car. Second coat of clear's on. I'm gonna let this thing sit in the booth overnight, come back tomorrow, pull it outside, and see how good this thing looks. So far, so good. Tiny bit of dirt in the quarter panel, probably 3 or 4 pieces of dirt in the quarter that I see. No runs, very, very flat. And my favorite part, the beautifully color matched, paint matched engine bay. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, I'm professional.
You know how to paint.
Remember back in the day? Every job I did, I'd redo.
I remember you respray.
Yeah. I got none.
Oh, wait, no, you don't have more.
You need help?
No, we got it. I don't want to take all your time, man. The car's out of the booth, and we can see how good she looks for the first time out here in the sun. That is perfect. Wow, that's nice. A little bit of three-wheeling action going on. Here's the bay. She turned out quite nice. Let's get her back to the shop. Car's back in the shop, safe and sound. One little weird thing that happened is the paint on the masking plastic, it flaked off. Now thankfully the paint was dry enough. Now it's still stuck a little bit. I'm gonna let it dry even more and then we can go ahead and wash it off. But I'm using the 3M masking paper or masking plastic and it still flaked off even with the paint side out like it should be. So that's a little bit frustrating. I'm happy it happened when the paint was mostly dry. But like I said, safe and sound back in the shop. Now we do still have a ton of parts to paint for this car. All the exterior panels. We have both front fenders, both doors, front hood, front bumper, hood, front lip, hood scoop, and I think that's it. Everything's gonna be blended in. Like I said earlier, we blended to right about there. Obviously you can't tell, being that the color was so close anyway. It did not probably not need to be blended, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. This thing turned out immaculate. Absolutely immaculate. You know what? We could go ahead and do a little test. So here we have our gas lid. Now, of course, the gas lid is not polished and the car has brand new clear on it. But yeah, that would have been fine as a butt match. No blend needed. Tomorrow is going to be the day that we take care of all the other panels for the car. And then I'm hoping to get this thing somewhat reassembled exterior wise, just so we can see how good it looks here in the next few days. Obviously it doesn't make sense to like get the doors and whatnot on permanently until all the interiors back in the car. It's much easier to get the headliner in, the dash bar, the dash pad, and pretty much the whole interior back in the car before the doors go on permanently. But we could still set them up on there just to see how good it looks. This is crazy. How far are we in? I started working on the car May 16th and the car's already in paint. We're moving right along on this project. When this thing's all finished up, it's going to one of you. Every $3 you spend on dvniemela.com is one entry. A lot of the things are sold out as of right now, but I'm trying to get stuff restocked as soon as possible for you guys. I do still have the digital images that you guys can use for backgrounds on your phone or wallpapers or whatever, and a bunch of stickers are still available on the website as well. Air fresheners, jet tags, and some other goodies will be restocked very, very soon. Hope you enjoyed the paint day video. I'll see you guys tomorrow when we knock out all of the exterior panels for the car.